Hello, it's so nice to have you back. Thank you for joining me in this Draw With Me and Storytime video, and let's have some fun. Also, audio quality was really bad again, that's why there are subtitles, so I'm sorry for the on-off audio. I hope it's okay. I've not worked with watercolor or gouache for a while, and I have a mix of gouache that I've not used for ages. I have Winsor Newton, that's Schminke, a German brand. Then I have a Japanese brand that I bought in Japan, it's a Holbein. And I've been actually inspired to paint again because I just became a patron of another illustrator. Her name is Rebecca Green, and I really like her work, and I find it very interesting how she develops her, her work. And I have, I don't know, on a whim actually decided, oh, why not sign up for this, because effectively that's how much I can spend on a hot drink at Starbucks or whatever. And it's really inspired me to start painting in traditional media again. I have quite a few colors, but I realize I'm kind of missing a few. They must be somewhere else. I'm still setting up my studio. But today we're painting traditionally, and I've not done this for quite a while. Mostly primary colors of different shades, and we'll see how that goes. I have a palette that I've not used for a while. I try to clean it mostly. There's still a bit of gold and white, which I might use. The nice thing about regular or designer gouache is that you can re-wet it. That means that it's almost like watercolor in that aspect, but it's much more pigmented. It's more opaque, but you can also water it down to look like watercolor. And you can layer it, which you cannot necessarily do with watercolor. So with watercolor, you have to kind of work from light to dark, whereas with gouache, you can do whatever the heck you want. Of course, there are some limitations, but you can paint, for example, light over dark. It's possible. That's what I really love about gouache. But I think we'll jump in now, and I feel like for this one, although it's not seasonally appropriate, I am still mourning a little bit the loss of the light in the warm months, although I do like autumn, generally speaking. It's just the lack of light is I'm struggling with. So I thought I would do it like a painting of a dandelion, and probably have to look up some reference. So I'll do that now, and then I'll start with the sketch, and you can see the speed painting. And again, thank you for watching. If you like this video, please consider subscribing and liking the video. I make, generally speaking, videos about motherhood and about illustration, so my life as a mother, making picture books, and trying to keep that creative spark alive while I have really young children with 2 under 3. And these are my Derwent Artist pencils. This is a pre-selected palette that I must have chosen a long time ago. I've not packed out these paints and pencils for must be almost 2 years. I will probably work with a mixed media situation. Speaking, I like to use Pexels. It's a free stock photo website. It's free for commercial use, and you don't actually need any attribution. Of course, as a fellow artist and creative, I don't always say that of course you should use this, but I'm not going to use this in a finished project. This is just going to be reference for me, so I just want to be safe. I think then these websites are good. Of course, you could also use other sources as long as you mix them together enough that you can't tell. Does it make sense? I'm not a copyright expert, so don't follow my advice here, but I basically like to be on the safe side, and I will use mostly stock photo websites. These are all free. I like this one here because you can see the different stages, but you can't see the actual leaves. So that's, I don't know. I'm actually not even fully decided if I want to do one that is in bloom or one that is already past its bloom. Good question. The only thing is that I feel like I don't see any leaves here. But yeah, as you can tell, this is going to be a slow process video. I hope you can find something to do on the side. You have something to, oh, that's nice. That's actually a botanical illustration, but of course that's a photo of something that might be copyrighted. So do we have any one with leaves? I've been collecting them for my rabbits for years, but it's a long time ago. And I don't mind having a bit of a refresh. Nope, we're not having so much luck here. Here maybe. Maybe dandelion leaf. Seems to be pretty much the same stuff. Okay, well, that's when I guess you'd have to either change your search results or maybe do a general Google search just to have a bit of a reference. I'm even mildly tempted to just paint something that I've done before that you could find on my website. Maybe I'll just do one that I've done before. Go to my website, my portfolio. I've updated that for quite a while. I think this is the one where I actually want to do this. Can you see this? So that's this is the dandelion that I'm thinking. Oops. So I might just take this as a reference. What we have, this is from my own website, this is my own copyright, so I can use that as a reference. I'm thinking I will just redo this one. What leaf do we want it to be? Do actually be careful because this can smudge. Maybe I'll use a very light colored pencil, maybe yellow, because that will be a yellow color. I have this one. This is brown ochre. They're an artist's pencils. I'd say these are not my favorite pencils, but they have quite a few neutrals and they're definitely more affordable than my more premium Faber-Castell, etc. And you might think maybe this is, why would you do something that you've done before? Working in different media is, I think, very rewarding. It feels very different to work. This was, for example, the reference. This was been done in colored pencil, and it's just it's very different. It's different to work in colored pencil. It's different to work in gouache. It has a different feeling to it, and I think that's what made me keep those paints, because part of me was like, why on earth am I still storing those paints that I've not used for 2 years? Of course, I mean, I had 2 children within a very relatively short time span, and that was a very transformative experience for me. Personally, I just didn't feel like I can take my paints out and just paint anytime. Also, we lived in a very small house where there wasn't any space for me to have a studio, whereas now I'm working on this new studio space that is in the house but it's a separate room, and that's just a luxury I've never had before, and I am thoroughly enjoying this. The nice thing about drawing this right now is that actually for the sketch itself I really have to think almost nothing, and I'm also just seeing that I have already changed it quite a bit. It doesn't really matter. This one is really just for the joy of painting, mixing paint, exploring paint, having actually genuinely just a bit of fun. And I feel like this is something that I've made a bit of a mistake the year after I graduated. I feel like I've squeezed the joy out of my work. And it's only when I had a different job that was still in the creative industries, but very, very different. So I was working as a junior compositor. It's a bit of a story time, but I might share the story again. Anyway, I basically was a junior compositor in a children's animation company that made children's TV shows. And I was working on a show for Universal Studios. This studio is being hired to produce shows for larger companies, for example Disney or the BBC. Basically it does shows for different places. And funnily enough, the illustrator I just mentioned, Rebecca Green, her book that she made, I think this was her first author illustrator's book, it's actually has been acquired by the Jim Henderson Company, I think, the rights to make a show out of it. And her book is called, I have it even behind me, How to Make Friends with a Ghost, I think. Oh no. That was acquired by Jim Henderson Company for the rights. The place where I've worked is producing that show, and yeah, I actually really miss my peeps at the CGI department. I've made really good friends there. I really felt more at home than I've ever felt ever since I moved to the UK, and that was very precious. I think that time in Altrincham, we don't live there anymore, but that was definitely one of the highlights in my life. Despite the work itself being, I have to admit, very repetitive, for a creative person, you need really good problem-solving skills to be a good compositor, specifically D-Rig for stop motion. That's what I've done. I think I became quite good at it, and was asked to do a lot of fixes for more senior compositors, which I would just say I take it as an honor, and I was trusted that I could do the final pass, almost basically. The thing is, always you just basically are using your creative skills, but in a very different way. You're not making anything new. Because I wasn't in the art department, it was a very different skill set that was required, and it was nice and it was hard. It was like all these things at the same time. We also moved into our first home. At that point, I became pregnant, and all of that stuff was all at the same time. I'm not entirely sure how neutral my opinion is about this time. And sometimes, some days were really hard, and I just wanted to quit because it was sometimes very boring, because it was very, like I said, repetitive. And for a creative person, it's very hard to do this. But at the same time, it paid quite well for, you know, what I've before. My income was really low. I only had income from teaching, which was good, but obviously I only did it part-time. And so basically for the first time I had actual money coming in that felt good. And it was just a very special time, with all these challenges of having a large office with lots of people. I've decided I'm going to show you. I love these images when you can actually basically see into the ground. Seems like they're getting thicker here. It doesn't have to be botanically accurate. If you think this is not correct, then please don't mind. It's not going to be a botanical illustration, meaning that it has have to be super accurate. I'm just going to do a little root here and here. Really, there's no pressure. If this is inaccurate, it doesn't matter. It's more for the joy of exploring. Have you done this recently? If you're drawing, when was the last time you've done something genuinely just for fun? And that's what I'm trying to do now more, because, as I said before, I've been squeezing out the joy out of my creativity. I actually thought I would have to go back into my business background. I went to a school that focused on business and IT for 5 years. It's like a secondary college. And I was convinced that at some point, when I had a bit of a mental breakdown after uni, I would just not find a place, you know, for me, my creativity, my work, and that I would just have to quit my creative journey, as nice as it was, and that I would just have to do something else. And then this job came around. Sorry, this is confusing, but I basically managed to secure this internship at this children's TV animation studio. And for all the goods and bads, it was definitely the best thing that happened to me at that point, because I was so close to, I applied to become a cleaner in an old people's home, or like actually no, sorry, it was a hospice. And I applied to be like food and beverage assistant, aka behind the coffee machine at the National Trust place, which actually I got a job offered really quickly, and in the end I had to decide against it. And I applied at a different job. I applied at so many different things. I honestly, at some point, I was so sad that I'm so blocked creatively that I thought I can't find anything in the creative industries. I'll have to just become whatever is there so we can have some money. As a young couple, struggling financially quite a bit despite being very financially cushioned. But despite all this support, of course, you don't want to be so reliant on people. I wanted to make my own money. Actually, now that I look at it, this is actually an acrylic gouache. This was the one that was stuck on the palette. I don't have so much experience with them, and I'm not so sure how much time I have to really finish this piece. We'll leave that Prussian blue acrylic gouache on the side, and I will use Prussian blue, the artist's gouache. I personally, from my research and experience, artist gouache is just has more light fastness, it's fancier, aka it's more expensive, it's just higher grade paint than designer gouache. But okay, so I've put a few paints out now, and to be honest with you, I was doing this subconsciously. I'm not really even thinking what I'm doing. Okay, so this is like a, what does it say? This is a designer's gouache, Naples, yellow, reddish, and it's kind of like a, I don't know what you even call this paint. We have a bit of gold. We have this is cadmium yellow, pure light. And I don't know, I think I'll go take some smart blue. This was a whole buy. I loved when I went to this, I think it was Sekkaido. I don't remember, but I went to art supply shop in Tokyo. I probably in one of my previous videos I have a art supply haul of that trip to Japan, a stationery haul, and I love that store. Oh my god, like being surrounded by paints, it's just like a mini dream come true. I don't actually have a okay, I have magenta here and I have a designer gouache opera rose. I'm a bit confused that I don't have any red here, but I guess that again means that these are somewhere stored away. This is a very random assortment of colors and this might go really wrong, but we're just doing this now. Who cares? Again, this is for fun. I'm enjoying this and thank you so much for joining me on this little story time about the time after university that I've actually never shared. I have very blue leaves in that reference that I've made and I really enjoyed that, but I'm just trying to think which color. And I think I will color test on the actual paper, which again, if this would be a final illustration, would you do this? Maybe not, but again, it doesn't matter. So I'm just trying to enjoy this. And I hope you enjoy this process. This is a really beautiful blue, right after the tube. I used it with a bit of water. You're gonna have to check if you can even see. Yeah, you can see that. And you know what? We're just diving in. I think I use quite a bit of water here. This, by the way, I think is Hanemühle watercolor paper, and the only reason why I'm using this is because that's what I have right now. I normally would use a Cas Art watercolor paper. I've done a lot of my illustrations on that. Also a lot with colored pencil. And I think also because it's cheaper. I don't even know why I have this paper because, oh wow, but I mean look at this. I still think this looks quite nice. Maybe I should use this paper more often. Here, I've not even gone back in. So I'm just starting at the top and I'm gradually letting it go lighter. This is just all from one time dipping into water and then paint. And I really hope you can see this well because while I'm painting, I'm looking at the painting and the camera is facing a different way. There's a screen where I could monitor it. I tell you, I'm learning every single video and every single video is a little bit different. Also because I'm feeling different that day. I might have a different amount of time because we still don't have a very clear or regular childcare schedule. And Nick and I have tried a new system, which is because he's working from home and he needs peace to do his work, which is financial advice. And I need a break after a full morning with the kids, and also of course for me it's also mostly the night with me. Interesting. Actually, I kind of feel like starting from the bottom here and working my way up. These are very intuitive decisions. I just feel like it would be nice if not everything is just, if it doesn't look like it's a gradient. What I mean is if I would have done the same as with flower stalk, so if I would have started at the top and then worked my way down, then it would have gradually become lighter. But again, it's actually not much surface, so it's pretty much the same color. Actually, in the end it didn't. I'm going to do the same here, starting at the top. That means that the most pigment, I can't speak today, is here. And I'm just not even trying to be so precise. I have to admit, I love the way this color, and I guess in combination with this paper, is developing this beautiful pigmentation. I don't know, I think there is a word for it. I'm not a watercolor expert. I think I've seen, there's another amazing artist that I really like, Iraville. I have a book, an artist book from her, and she works, I think, only in watercolor as far as I know, or primarily in watercolor, and her paints always have this beautiful kind of marbling. Can you see this? And I think sometimes she also uses a bit more expensive paper, which I don't want to spend money on right now. This looks fun, and that's why I'm doing this. Now for the yellow though. I think I might go a bit lighter and then paint dark over. But I'm also wondering if I should mix. This is a beautiful yellow. I think this is quite accurate for the dandelion. But I feel like it would be nice to mix it with some gold. So let's just do that. Because I think that will first of all darken it and give it a nice shimmer. Ooh, so we have some darker. This is very saturated. Wow. It's more like an ochre now. I really hope you can see this well. Let me see if you can see this. Should I go a bit closer? I see there's a lot of reflection. So you might not even really be able to see it just yet, but trust me, it's beautiful. I'm going to lose my lines now that I'm doing this, so I'm debating what I should do. To go lighter, but again, I'm not trying to overthink this. I don't even know if I finished my storytelling last time, but yeah, having financial pressure on your artwork is hard, and not having regular income I found personally very challenging. Even though it wasn't my income that, you know, paid the bills, but even just for my feeling of validation, I realized that I take a lot of validation from how much I earn. And I think that's why I struggled so much mentally to become a mother. I always wanted to be a mother, but I didn't realize how it would actually, in reality, how it would feel like to, especially after I've had this job where I was earning, I would say for my situation, I was earning really well and at a studio, then suddenly going to basically nothing. The self-employment, although I'm grateful that there is even anything for people who are self-employed when they go on maternity leave and they've paid their contributions like I have, but still it's very little. And I don't know, I was really struggling with my value. And if you're on my Instagram, you probably would have heard me talk about this kind of struggle of, you know, validation as a mother. Where do I get my validation from? Often the stuff I do, no one sees. And part of me had to reflect, is that also why I'm starting to do YouTube again? Because then people actually can see what I'm doing. But I think it's a mixed reason. I love YouTube. I love following other people. I love connecting with people who have a similar mindset or beliefs. And it's not always so easy to find people like this in your neighborhood, or maybe you could. I feel like it's always been so much easier to connect with people online. And I do love my friends that I have here, of course, as well. It's just very specialist interests, like other mothers who believe in God and are homeschooling, and like things that are basically I'm thinking about potentially doing. It just feels like a nice way of seeing other people's lives, seeing that there are other ways to live your life. You don't have to live your life necessarily just how the people surrounding you. And I'm also waiting for a British gas engineer to come. So I have to open the door. This is like an interesting video. Oh, I think I can hear my babies and my husband come back from their walk. That's what we've done. Him taking them out for a walk around lunchtime. I need to stop now, but that was very nice. Thank you for watching. I hope I could show you the finished one, but I will stop this now and see you next time. I also just thought I'd jump in and say that I actually have a gouache painting course for beginners that guides you through what paper to use, which brushes, the different kinds of gouache, and what to use for which projects. It's not always about which is best, it's more about what suits what you need for what you want to achieve. And in this course, we will start painting one cute animal portrait. Through this project, we actually learn how to use gouache. If you can hold a brush, you can definitely do this. I'd say you need at least a weekend of dedicated working on it to go to the finished result, but you can obviously also take longer. It's a subscription-based or one-off payment, so if you feel like you can do it really quickly, you could maybe pay a month and then you can unsubscribe and you have it all done. It's cheaper. Or you can pay a one-off fee. That means you have access to all the classes, and if it ever goes offline, then you can download those classes and I'll let you know. Basically, it's like your own access, so to speak. And yeah, I hope you have a look if that's interesting to you. I actually really love gouache. I've just not used it very much in my picture book work for various reasons, and of course it just takes time, but I think that's what makes it so nice, that it actually takes time. It creates this, it's mentally, it's peaceful. It can be peaceful. And if you've ever tried it and struggled, then I'm also addressing quite a few common beginner mistakes or common beginner challenges in my free 7-day email course for gouache beginners. If you're not ready to dedicate, buy a class yet or use a subscription-based model, then I highly recommend you have a look at that. It's just 1 email a day, about 1 minute video, and then within 7 days you should be able to have a bit of a better understanding of how to use it. So just wanted to enter that little promotion because I'm not actually earning anything with YouTube at the moment, so I have to promote my own stuff, and I hope you don't mind that. Thank you.